There we go.
Hey, long time no see.
Yeah. All right. Are you in vertical or horizontal? How do you have yours set up? Or how am I looking, I guess?
I'm using mine horizontal.
Okay. So if I go like this, am I straight up still or am I crooked?
You're actually kind of crooked.
All right. So this way.
There you go.
Okay. Let me get my stand set up here.
I see you got the same microphone as I do.
Yeah. I got one. My wife got me one for Christmas. And then she got me this light too. It's like a ring light that I have here. And then what I realized is I often do the live stream with like my younger son usually jumps in or my older son will jump in. So I went back and I bought another microphone that actually it's two mics with one thing that plugs into my phone. So there's another mic somewhere down there. So at least like both of us can jump in at the same time and have microphones.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. All right, wait. Let me see here.
What's going on, Gordon Hudson?
There he is.
So how's everybody doing tonight? Welcome back to another live stream this week. I'm joined with my good friend here, Art from Art's Model Trains. And before we get started, I just wanted to welcome him back to the live stream for this week. And in today's video, we're going to do the thing that we usually do best. We're going to be doing a little bit of a Q&A. We'll also be answering some questions down in the comments section below. And then for the rest of the video, we're going to do another thing which we do best is, of course, run the trains for you guys. So with that being said, I know I'm kind of winging this as I, go along, but
now there's no script, man. I do have all our questions written down though, so I have that set up so that we can go through those when we need to. I'm gonna try to do this without my glasses if I can read. But yeah, I don't know if you have them in front of you, everything. So what we did this time was we got a little bit formal. Mike and I like message each other back and forth. We're like, hey, how about we actually write up some questions as opposed to just trying to think this through on the fly. So we shot back and forth. We came up. I mean, this is a pretty good list. We got about, I don't know, I'm eyeballing this, about 20 questions on here. We probably will not get through all of them. But yeah, I don't know if you want to start running through these or if you had something else you wanted to catch up on, like anything else. But let's give it a minute to see who else pops on. I can't see from my side the way I have YouTube set up. I can't really see who's jumped in here. There we go. All right. So now it's showing me 8. Okay. Some good comments in there already. Hey, there's Dakman Productions. Yes, I saw Dakman at Greenberg. So I'll answer one of your questions right away, Mike, that you had sent me the other day about the big boy. So I actually ran into Sean at the Greenberg show this past, I might get this wrong. I think I want to say it was like August 11th, 12th, I think was the show in Edison, New Jersey. And I did find, I don't know if it's just off the camera here, but I did find a Line Master Big Boy at Trains and Things. They're in Ewing, New Jersey. So they had a booth there and I picked up Big Boy there. The price was great. And I know their shop. I've been there before. I don't know if anybody else has been there, but they were great to work with. And they give it a 1-year warranty. They had, they had known the previous owner. So they talked about like, how it was kept. They had run a full inspection of it. So it was like, all right, this makes a lot more sense than trying to buy one off of eBay or potentially pick one up from somebody at York, get it from somebody I know. So I did score it finally. So that was my big one off my list. I have a couple of other engines on my target, but I'm gonna, wait and see over time what else comes out before I start buying anything more. And then of course with York coming up, I'm trying to save up. I'm trying not to go on the sites like Trains or eBay or anything like that and pick anything up before York. So
I'm kind of in the same boat here because I've been trying to save every penny that I've been, earning up till. So I'm not going to be spending any more money on trains until that day comes around.
Yeah. Yep, and Sean says that Jackman Production says it. Tony, so it was Tony and his daughter, and I can never remember his daughter's name. They were both there, and I spent like a half hour talking to them just while I was buying this engine. And they, I talked to them before at their shop, but they really are great. And I have friends of my parents who have an amazing layout. Who I go visit them every once in a while. And they actually only buy exclusively from Toy Trains and excuse me, from Trains and Things, and they rave about Tony as well.
Very nice.
Yeah. So I actually, so Sean was talking about Allentown. So I actually took my older son to Allentown. And I don't know if you've ever been out to Allentown, the show out there, the spring. I went to the spring thaw this year, and it was really impressive. It was a lot bigger than I was expecting. And they actually had a ton of HO stuff. So my son does HO. And he was like, in awe. He could not figure out what to pick up because he was like, embarrassment of riches. There were too many things he wanted. But yeah, I was really impressed there. But I actually was not able to find, believe it or not, the Lion Master Big Boy at the Allentown show last spring. So that's what continued my hunt. Yeah.
Very cool. So
have you been out to Allentown? Have you been to that show?
I've heard a lot about it, but I never got a chance to go down there with my dad because I think we're actually kind of pretty far from,
I was going to say where you are. I mean, I don't know exactly where you live, but I know where you've talked about where you live. That's probably just as far as you work, right? For you guys?
Yeah. I probably want to say we're maybe like 2 hours, 45 minutes away from the fairgrounds. But originally, me and my family used to live down in Denellen, New Jersey. And in case you guys aren't really familiar with Denellen, it's right in the middle of Middlesex County, and it's also right next to Piscataway. So we were kind of like in the middle of that section there of, the whole state of New Jersey, I guess you could say. But then around I want to say October 2021, we ended up moving out of there because, the taxes were starting to become very problematic for us. So we've been doing some research, and we actually came down to Delaware for vacation around 2019. And because we liked it down here so much here in Delaware, we decided to give it a shot. So lo and behold, towards the ending of 2021, we moved down here to Delaware, and we haven't had a problem down here, living wise, ever since. So it's been quite an experience down here, to say the least.
All right, so I just looked this up. That's a town I've never heard of. You're like, it's literally like 30 minutes from where I live, maybe less. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
It's also kind of funny how they came up with the name for the town, because there's some kind of a myth or a rumor that's kind of mumbling around where there was a guy that was with his wife and she was doing something. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but he kind of asked her in a funny way, "Are you done, Ellen?" And then all of a sudden the name just stuck. The name just stuck immediately, and it really stood the test of time.
That's hysterical. Hysterical.
Life's really funny. Like, you end up saying things at the top of your head that you don't really mean to, and then the more you think about it, the more catchy that it is to, memorize.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. That's pretty funny. All right. Now we learned something about a town in New Jersey. See, we're not only teaching you about trains, we're learning about how towns got named. All right. What else? All right. Well, so that was actually question 2 or 3 on our list. Let's see. All right. So the first one you threw out there was the yard, and I'm sitting in front of my yard scene that I had built over the summer. And I did just do a video where I went through kind of like pretty much final of what this is set up to look like. And I'm kind of blocking it, but there's like a hobo scene I built in here. And then I built a 3-track yard with a shed. This is an MTH shed. And let me just turn the camera a little bit.
And then I also got the block signals in the back there too.
Sorry, say that again?
I kind of noticed in your update that you also featured a couple of new block signals there too with the switch tracks.
Yeah, so and I'll maybe get a little close up of those later, but that is definitely something I want to do a video on. So I looked on the forum, the OGR forum, and I figured out how to with relays and a DC power supply and all this stuff, hook up the fast track switches to these signals that I picked up off of eBay. They're from We Honest and eBay. And so that as I switch the switch tracks with my cab one, the lights will change. Let me see, actually. I can't, you guys probably can't see it from here. I'll do it later when we're running trains. I'll get a close up of it, but it's pretty cool. And I like it just because it was a fun thing to just figure out how to do. And it really didn't cost a lot of money. I mean, the signals themselves were like $3 or $4 each plus shipping. And like the relay, I want to say was like $7 plus a bunch of spare wire and time. You know,
Really?
that was it. Yeah, it really wasn't a very expensive thing. Like I said, I'll do a video on it and I'll list out like all the parts I bought. And I followed a posting on the forum, like pretty much to the T. The only difference was the person who did the post had bought signals off of Amazon, and they were wired different than these We Honest signals were wired. So I just had to flip a couple of wires, and then once I figured that out, it was really easy. The hardest part was just working with those small little wires and like getting under here and like, you know, connecting everything.
It's not bad.
Yeah, that was really cool. So, and I do, like I said, I do a whole video on this. But my favorite part was picking up this MTH shed that I got off of eBay that somebody had already weathered. And it really, I know you've mentioned it a couple times in the comments, like it really just, it's awesome. It looks fantastic. I would never have weathered it by myself. So I'm glad I was able to find one that somebody had already done. It is the older version of the MTH dual stall shed. So I actually had to transition from the fast track to tube track within the shed itself because the fast track didn't fit. And I didn't want to get in the business of cutting cutting the fast track or cutting the shed. But yeah, it came out great. There are a few small things I want to add in as far as like details to it. I need to put bumpers at the end of the tracks, just things like that, maybe some lighting. But overall, I'm really happy with the way this came out. And I did hook up the hobo scene. So this boxcar is the Sounds boxcar that's on a separate track that I just have wired in, and I have it on a switch. I don't know if you guys can hear it.
I'm actually friends with somebody online who has the exact same boxcar as you.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Excuse me.
I've been actually,
yeah.
I've been actually wanting to get one of those myself because I already have a Rail Sounds boxcar where you hear the sounds of the boxes and the crates moving back and forth as the train's going around the track. And I really
Right.
think that the hobo boxcar that you have on the layout there is really another great step in the right direction.
Yeah, no, I mean, like when I saw that in the catalog, I jumped on it right away and I bought it. What was it? The 2022 Volume 2 catalog, I think is when the first one was out.
Mhm.
And then they ran it again this year, or I have my catalogs reversed. Maybe it was Volume 1 last year and then they ran it again in Volume 2. But whatever it was, the price went up. I don't know if you saw that. Like the first run, I think I got this at Charles Row. I want to say it was like, I'm going to make up the number because I don't know it off the top of my head, like $150, something like that. And then the next run around went to like 180 or 190.
Right.
So yeah. And I,
But yeah,
the only thing I did was I added inside the car, and I know a bunch of people have done this, is I added inside some Woodland Scenics like packages and things like that. Because it does just have two hobos sitting in the car and it's really plain looking.
Right. But I actually paid the same price for my boxcar as well, even though it's not a Hobo Sounds boxcar. It was still at the same price range.
Yeah. Now, was that one of those ones that was like a set of 3 cars? Not like the Vision Line stock cars or anything like that. It was just a single car?
Well, actually, I only have the one car.
It's only one car.
It's got the Pennsylvania road name on it. It's got the little speaker inside. And all you just hear are the sounds of the crates and packages moving back and forth as the train's going around the track. And then you hear the squealing of the wheels, as the train's moving.
That's really cool. That's cool because this, when it's on the track, all it does is do the flat spot of the wheel. So all you hear is click, 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 click as it's rolling around. So it's almost better when it's stationary and you can hear the actual hobo conversation and like harmonica and things like that. So
Right.
Yeah. And in the video where I talk about the overview of the yard, I built a little fire pit here using Evans Designs LEDs and some figures and things like that. And it really came out great. I'm really happy with it. My layout is on plywood, without like any real scenic material for the ground cover or anything like that. So It's not super realistic, but I try to like, where I can add in little realistic details. And stuff like that. It's just personally, I just find it fun to figure out how to build it, how to put it together.
Definitely. I mean, everybody's got like a different technique on how they build layouts and such. So there really isn't any right or wrong when it comes to it.
Yeah. Let me just see if there's any other comments we missed here.
So I
All
know
right.
you sent a couple of questions to me, and I tried to categorize them as best I could. So
Yeah.
let's see what we
Yeah, a lot
got.
of the questions, and before you jump in, a lot of the questions I was thinking about were because you had that other channel about, where you do lots of projects like the milk car restoration, and you talked
Yeah.
about
Yes.
that's where a lot of those questions kind of came to my mind because I was like thinking about like when I'm repairing a car, it's literally like I dive into my closet, I pull out a box of like crap that I have, and I find some spot like on the dining room table or the kitchen counter, and that's where I work. So I was really curious how you were set up for all that.
Well, it's actually kind of funny because when I originally started the channel on YouTube here, I was originally going to be doing like I was originally going to be talking about movies and such and other types of media because I like Marvel and DC superheroes. But when I realized once the channel wasn't gaining that much traction, I decided to start all over it again. And then when I jumped over to Instagram and Facebook for the first time, I was thinking to myself, I wonder if there's like a model train community on both of these platforms. And lo and behold, I'm just really glad that I wasn't wrong. And from there on, I kind of discovered a lot of great hobbyists and modelers along the way, like RJ's Trains, Sam's
Yeah.
Trains, DA Griffin Hobby, RBP, and as well as Jason from Jason's Trains. And I was really looking up to what they were doing with not only their channel but with their layouts as well. And I was thinking to myself, I want a model train YouTube channel as well. And little did I realize in the back of my head, like the old saying, like they always say, if something isn't broke, don't fix it. And if you really have a hobby that you love the most, don't fix it either. Just keep doing what you're doing, stick with it, and stick to it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, no, I agree. And before we continue on that subject, there was a question in there. Datified was asking about the hobo scene. So the hobo scene, I'm not exactly sure where I got the inspiration from, but I know it's been done on a bunch of different layouts. And I did see like God, who had one set up that I really liked, and I got the idea of the hobo car on a dead track here, just wired up and next to the campfire and everything from I'm trying to remember where it was now. Uh it was one of the guys on YouTube, one of the more popular guys like Chris's Trains and things, I think, or whatever, it was something like that. Um but yeah, and then on what I did was I just kind of built it into what I already had. So this is a water tower that my grandfather actually built. And so I kind of incorporated all that into the scene. I had an old caboose that I kind of stripped down and took some parts off and made it look like it fit in here. And then I put the Woodland Phoenix spokes around, although they don't stand up very well. I got to glue them down at some point once I kind of finalize everything. Um, and then what I did was I actually used a Woodland Scenic spotlight, and I had the hobo sitting up here in the water tower. So when the lights are out in the basement, the spotlight shines on the band playing over here. So it actually, looks like they rigged it up to do that. That was my little spin on what others had done.
I also do have a homemade accessory that my grandfather made as well.
Oh, look at that. That's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah. Wait, now, all right. So it's interesting. You made a good point because I have to say, I caught myself when you talked about your YouTube channel, right? Like I've caught myself trying to compare myself to some of these other guys. And like I got and you get a little crazy. You're like, oh man, my layout sucks. Like I get frustrated sometimes where I'm like, oh, my collection, why can't I afford to buy all this stuff that these guys get? And they're not earning the money from YouTube. Like, let's not make a mistake. YouTube, even when you pass 1,000 subscribers, I'm short of 1,000 right now. But I think you're over 1,000. You don't make a ton of money. So like I don't think these guys are rolling in the money, and that's how they're able to do it. Maybe Eric Strains is actually one of the few people who's probably making enough money to actually supplement his income to buy trains. So you really have to like watch yourself and catch yourself and see what you said, which is stay true to yourself. Like, what do you enjoy about the hobby? What do you like to do? And don't try to compare yourself and don't try to play catch up to what everybody else is doing, because you're just gonna, make yourself broke and probably get very frustrated with the whole thing. And that's my one piece of advice that I would say. I've discovered that, what is this? Just over a year now I've been doing it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then getting back to my other channel just for a minute. That
Yeah.
was also originally going to be
Wait,
for
first of all, give a plug. What is your other channel? Tell everybody what it is in case they don't know.
Okay, so my other channel it's a little on the nose, but I just decided to call it Railchief's Back Shop for whatever reason because I couldn't think of another fancy schmancy name for it because uh, I mean, so it's basically just called Railchief's Back Shop. So
Yeah. Good. Good.
not to be confused with Sid's Back Shop for the things that he does on his channel as well, because a lot of his restorations are also really good as well.
Yeah, he's on like a whole different level, right? Like I think he's going to school for like electrical engineering or something like that. And what he does is amazing. Um, I've often thought about calling him when I was like, I want to do this to an engine. And I'm like, I just can't imagine what he must charge to take care of some of these things. Because the amount of, you know, the amount of effort he puts in and what he's able to do is just really impressive. But I think your channel is different than his. Your backshop channel that I've noticed is different than his, in
Right.
that you actually talk through like what are you doing, and like give step by step, like changes, tutorials, like how to kind of thing. He in his backshop just kind of like will show the result of what he did. I don't know if you
Right.
watched any of it.
It's mostly just the finished product once
Yeah,
everything's put together,
yeah, yeah.
which I have nothing against. Make no mistake.
No, no. Yep. Just his way of doing it. Yeah. Cool.
Yep. But anyway, that channel was originally going to be for like my PlayStation walkthroughs and such. And when I realized that channel wasn't gaining that much traction either, I decided to recycle it. And considering I got so much, I don't really want to be using so much data for like my phone or my iPad because I'm afraid if I even try to do that, then you know my mom's credit card is going to be charged, and I'm ending up paying a lot of money than what I usually do for like my phone and such. But ignoring all that, uh, I just decided to recycle it, like I said, and mostly use the channel for a lot of my restoration work because my main channel is kind of getting crowded and uh, I just want to for my main channel I just want to focus on running sessions, what the hobby is like today, as well as some layout updates and such. And Real Chief's Back Shop is mostly just for like restores, like I mentioned, for post-war NPC, K-line, or some MTH pieces of rolling stock or some locomotives here and there. So
Yeah.
if you guys ever want to go check out, my other channel, Rail Chief's Back Shop, I'll make sure to leave it in the link down below. Let me know if you guys watch any of the videos, comment, and tell me what you guys like, what you might not like as much, or some of the things that I could possibly, do better in the near future.
So you mentioned before that you had grouped some of my questions into categories. So I'm guessing the ones I asked about, like your workbench and things like that, were you grouping them into this same topic? So why don't you
Yes.
talk a little bit about like your, so a couple questions I had, right? Like what kind of tools and things do you have on your workbench that you recommend for others to have around? And like kind of like, do you set up a permanent workbench? Do you have something that you just like pull out when you need it? Like what are your hints for that?
So basically, everything takes place in my parents' garage downstairs. Now, I don't really have a permanent, test bench or anything. I just mostly bring down a lot of the equipment, downstairs in the garage whenever I need it. But I think the last video I think I made was how to apply the bullfrog snot to the underside of a K-line Pennsylvania K4, and it probably took me like at least 7 to maybe 14 layers of that stuff to apply to the back wheels. Because that stuff, it doesn't dry quickly, like immediately. You got to at least give it like maybe 20 to 30 minutes for it to set in. And I know that the bullfrog stock, it kind of has like, it has its ups and downs. There's a huge group of people out there that really like it. And then there are the more high end, like sophisticated, like modelers who don't really care for it that much because like I said, it has its pros and cons, but I guess it just really depends on how you use it. But for me, when I was applying the snot to the underside of the K4, I wanted to add a couple coats because just adding maybe like 2 or 3 coats to it doesn't really do that much. So I wanted to, at least add like 14 layers of that stuff, so that way I get better tire traction. But anyway,
Yeah.
getting back to the thing that I mentioned with my workbench, I also do have a couple of tools that I like to use, including a flathead and a Phillips head screwdriver like this. I also do keep some smaller ones on me just in case for some of the more small jobs, I guess you could say.
Yep. Yeah.
Also
You
have
got those.
I also have a little voltmeter that's from whatchamacallit, K Kaylin's Tools. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And then as
Yeah.
for my soldering irons here, I also have a Weller soldering iron, which my dad gave me a little while back.
Oh wow. Look at that one. Yeah, that's a good one.
And then for the more tougher, like soldering jobs, like for the contact tabs under some post-war pieces of rolling stock or something that might have to do with the motor, I like to use something a little like this.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, wait. So let's see. We got a couple comments. Let's see what we missed in here. Up, there's Ed. Ed's joined us. Hey, Ed, how you doing? Yeah. All right, wait, I'm going to say. Hopefully, I'm saying this right. Droust O-Gauge Railroad says, make a workbench in his new house. The kitchen counter is great for clean service and lighting. Clean surface and lighting. Yeah. It's funny. I use the kitchen counter a lot because you're got great lighting, have overhead lighting in there and everything. I've used the dining room table a few times to do things, and I realized the dining room table is probably like the worst place to do it because the lighting in there is just not designed for it's designed for sitting around having dinner. It's not designed for working on, and I end up having to try to bring like a desk lamp or something in and like stand it over that. It not a lot of fun to work there. I have actually my son has a desk in the basement that he has his gaming computer on that I sometimes steal that because he has an overhead light that I put over there. But a lot of times I can't set up something that I'm going to work on over a couple of days because that's his desk that he uses for homework and for whatever on his computer. So that's why I end up in the dining room or something. Wait, all right. So we talked about soldering iron. Wait, I'm trying to think if there was something else. Oh, what about a test track? That was a question I had because that's something that's been on my mind lately about should I build a test track? Do you have a test track or do you just bring everything to your layout and throw it on there?
So basically, I have like 2 types of track that I like to use. Even though I don't use this type of track that much anymore, I do end up, messing around with Lionel Fast Track once in a while, and I also do have the common tubular track that Lionel also made. And then as for my power supplies, I like to use a 1033 transformer from Lionel, which belonged to my dad's.
Cool.
Belonged
And
to
do you
my
have
dad.
anything like set up on your workbench separate that like you just to throw it like to throw a collar on as you're working on it to test it out, or do you like is that or do you bring it? There's that on just in your layout that setup.
Well, first I like to let's say hypothetically, I like to work on a locomotive. I usually tend to work on that first, and then after everything is reassembled, I go ahead and assemble like a long line of track, and then hook it up to the transformer, and then I test the locomotive out from there. So
Okay, so
I don't really
nothing
set
permanent.
right, like I don't really set up the test bench right away. I just like to work on the engine first, and then go to the test bench, after that.
Yeah, because I've been toying around with taking a piece of like like 1x4 piece of wood, and strapping some track to it. And then I've seen guys, you could get the rollers and other things like that. The challenge I have is I only have one TMCC Cab 1 system right now. And I feel like if you're going to build a test track, you almost need to have that system separate to test those engines on there. So I end up just bringing everything down and throwing it on the layout.
Nice. And then, not trying to change the subject either, but
Yeah.
Lionel also made some very unique looking test benches back in the day in the post-war era. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, those things are like very rare and expensive. So, like, it's again, like they always say, it's better to make something yourself at home rather than to go out and spend a whole lot of money for something that's going to be very difficult to track down.
Agree. I have seen those videos and things like that. And I'm just trying to do a quick search right now to see if one shows up somewhere. But yeah, those amazing, right? Like if I remember correctly, they had like a whole panel that had like the transformer and like the gauges and everything built into it, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yes, and it also had like two little lines of Lionel Super O track, and I think they also featured an 8-show line of track as well.
Yeah. The problem for me is just space. Like I just don't have a permanent place right now to set up something like that, but that would be great.
Right.
So,
And what's also kind of weird about them is that they only provide you with 3 sections of track. But when you make your own bench at home, you do whatever you want. You can add more track if you want to, or you could just have like a small, workspace with less track.
yeah. No, that's true. And I'm kind of like, I do the same thing you do, right? Like I end up with like the foam cradle and the engine upside down and all of that to work on stuff rather than, working on the track. So the track itself is almost like secondary, and that's why it's easier to just bring it down here and throw it in the layout.
Yes.
All right.
And also, as a little side note, if you guys are working with screwing and unscrewing locomotives and such, I definitely recommend using a little mechanism like this. This is a little demagnetizer, which you can magnetize or unmagnetize your screwdrivers. So that way, whenever you take like a screw or something out of the bottom of an engine, it will stick itself right onto the screwdriver without falling off. And if you ever want to demagnetize it, you can just, slide it through the little slot here, and it'll demagnetize the screwdriver completely.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool because I actually bought, I know you held up those little eyeglass screwdrivers before. I bought a package of those off of Amazon, then they're magnetized. I never thought about the idea that sometimes you don't want to magnetize, right? Like when you're working around some sensitive electronics and things like that. So ELW Trains was saying that he actually built a test track for his setup. You know what would be interesting is like, could you somehow rig up a test track as part of your layout that you could yank off? That would be something to figure out someday. That's my next layout. Like a segment of track that I could pull out and bring over to the workbench and slap down and then connect it up like, with 2 leads or something like that. For my next layout. Next layout. I don't know. All right. Let's see. What else? What other comments did I have about workbench that I was asking about? Let's see.
I know that you kind of asked me a question about who or where do I buy some of my locomotives from and why. And
Yeah.
I actually, when me and my family lived in New Jersey, there were a couple of places that me and my dad used to go to a lot. Our number one hobby shop that we used to go to all the time was the Piscataway, the model train shop in Piscataway. And then the second hobby shop that we always like going to is the train station all the way up in Mountain Lakes, New
Yep.
Jersey.
Mountain Lakes. Yeah. I've bought a bunch of stuff from them over the years. A few pre-orders and things like that. They're good. And you know where all right. So I'm sitting in front of this is my MTH New York Central Hudson here. And I did a bunch of videos on this thing. And when I got my last one from Train World, they had tested it out for me and they sent it to me. And I only have, I think like you have, the remote commander from MTH to run the train. So the train has to be factory reset. And it wasn't, they had tested out for me and they didn't factory reset it. So I couldn't run it on my layout. And I found out that I'm like 20 minutes away from the train doctor. He's right here in central New Jersey. And probably wouldn't have been far from where you used to live in Jersey too. And I had no idea he was here. He's in Tinton Falls, New Jersey.
Really?
So I actually found his shop and it was great. Like I ran down there with the engine. He wasn't able to help me, believe it or not. Long story, but they have a ton of stuff. So I plan on going back, one time this winter with the kids, maybe after York, and see what they have in stock there. But he's constantly rotating through collections. He actually has, if anybody's looking for it, very expensive, but he has the Legacy Polar Express set there. I want to say it was, I think his price was like $2,500. It's on his website. If you go to the Train Doctor. But he had the Polar Express, he had a Blue Comet, and a few other things. It was pretty cool. So Datafied said all right, so this is something great. And my wife actually makes jewelry and she has one of these things. And he hits a magnet on the end of a rod that you use to fish out small parts. And that's a great hint because I have done that. And it's also great for when you drop those screws, like on a rug or something like that. You can run around with that magnet and you can find them really quickly. Yep. Dakman talks about, yep. Yeah. And the Train Doctor, he's been to Greenberg. He's at all the Greenberg Edison shows. I've seen him there. I think he was also at Allentown, if I remember correctly. But yeah, and I had no idea. I'd always seen him at the train shows. I never knew his shop was that close to me. So it was great to find them because what's great is for me, things like smoke fluid, stuff like that, like just those basic stuff you track, like things you need that you just don't want to you want to buy from someplace local. You don't want to, buy from a Amazon or whatever. It's great to know they're right down the road now and I can just drive down there and get it when I need it. So
That's true.
what about now? Is there a local shop to you now?
So now right now the only hobby shop that me and my dad go to is a place down by the shore called Seaside Hobbies. It's a lot smaller than the train shop in Piscataway, but once you walk inside, it's almost like walking through a Lionel archives. I mean, that's how packed it is inside.
Yeah, I've seen you talk about that. I want to say in either some posts or video you mentioned that place. I think a few Instagram posts. I think you've talked about that store. Okay.
Yes, but they do have a lot in there. They do have a lot inside there. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they have everything from Lionel, MTH, Atlas, Williams, Marks, and some LGB items that they also sell too.
All right, I'm looking this place up here in Piscataway. All right, the Model Railroad Shop, it's called, right? On
Yes.
Vale Avenue. All right, I got to check that out because that's probably not too far away from me either.
And I think to the best of my knowledge, they've been they've been in business for over almost 90 years now, I think. That's how old they are.
Wow. Okay. It can't be that far from me. Yep, 30 minutes. All right, so right near where you used to live. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, not far at all. Actually, not far from the Edison show. So interesting. Cool. Let me just go back to YouTube, see if anybody's throwing anything out there.
Me and my dad.
Oh,
Me and
right. So Dakman
my-
met the owner. He's met the owner of Seaside Hobbies. Yeah. Cool. All right. Let's see what else is on my list here. All right. So what about online? Do you shop at all online for trains?
I mean, mostly, whenever it comes to shopping online, me and my dad always like to go on either eBay or trains.com. These days, I like to go on trains.com a lot more because you don't really know who you can and who you can't really trust on eBay these days.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, like that's what I was saying about this big boy. Like when I saw that Trains and Things had it, like I said, I've been to their shop. I've known them. I've bought some stuff from them before. I talked to them for a while. They talked about like how they warranty it for a year. They knew like I said, the previous owner. That to me I'm willing to even pay more. And their price was fantastic. But So I was willing to even pay more for it at that point because I knew like what you're getting and you know who you're getting it from, to your point, right? As opposed to eBay. So yeah, somebody just pointed out um Drosh Day, I keep saying it wrong, I'm sure. Please correct me. um the Brady's in Pennsylvania. Yes, I'm on their website a lot. I check them out. Um Oh, yes, and I did see that video Dak Man's talking about. He bought the custom run Lionel Conrail set. Um, wait, is that where I believe that's where Dak Man got I think it was an AB Conrail he bought a while back. Maybe so this looks like it's a new set. They have another all right, no, I'm reading this wrong. That's it is a great shop though. I've looked at their stuff a lot online. I haven't bought anything from them yet, but I've definitely shopped their website. They do have a big selection there. Yeah, now I'm the same thing too. Like I am on trains.com probably way too much. My kids make fun of me that I'm constantly on there, constantly. And like, I'll be like, ooh, the price on this dropped. And my son will be like, no, don't buy it. And he keeps me under control.
Cool. Now, from what I heard, I do believe that trains.com is going to be well, not the website, but the actual company Train World is going to be at York this year.
Yeah. Yes. I was
Well,
looking
as
on
well
this.
as .com too,
What's that?
as well as trains.com too.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at the list for the halls. I mean, I know you and I have talked about York over Instant Messenger and in previous videos and stuff like that too. I got my pass. This will be my first trip to York this October, and I was looking. They do have a list of the Orange Hall, like who all the dealers are going to be there. They have a map and everything. So yeah, trains.com is going to be there. Train World will be there. They look like they have like a whole separate section with a big area. Um, I'm already feeling overwhelmed and like I'm going to blow my budget at the first table I walk up to. So I'm already trying to think about like how do I focus myself? And it's funny because Datified's on here with us. He and I have gone through back and forth in some of the comments before, like staying focused on like a road name or like stay focused on your wish list of particular things as a way to control your spending because you can quickly blow your budget, especially at a show like York, I'm sure.
That's true. And I
Yeah.
also do know somebody there who is he's been a TCA member for a long time, but after we're done with the live stream here, I'd be happy to give you his contact information, and once the actual York show comes around, he'd be happy to show you around the entire place and also answer a couple of questions if you ever have any
Yeah.
for him.
Well, yeah. So Datified saying he had some luck on obviously trains.com, but then also the Facebook Marketplace. I have searched on Facebook Marketplace a few times. I am very weary about buying stuff. I did actually buy this remote commander off of Facebook. But that's it. I am a little weary of Facebook. I don't know why, but I know you know one of the things I have discovered is I have the Legacy Lion Master Challenger, and I bought that used off of the forum, and it's old, and there's no spare parts for it anymore, and it's kind of given me fits a few times, and I've had to figure things out as I've gone because even today I went to start it up, and it feels like something's broken. It was stalling out someplace. So I forced it back into the shed, and I'm like, let's leave it there, and I'll open it up tomorrow. But I'm actually starting to think about maybe a way to control my spending is to limit myself to more new or recent new items that I find that are on my like list of things I want. That way I make sure I buy things that are more new. There's parts available, potentially repairs can be made. Especially if you buy it new, right? You get the warranty a lot of times. Um, as opposed to trying to buy as much used as I have in the past. Yeah, Dakman saying all the top hobby shops are in the Orange Hall. Yeah, which is the dealer hall. That's definitely what I've read. Oh man, I'm gonna forget it. But if you go to the TCA website for the show, they have Clem's Primer. I think it's Clem's Primer which is like I guess somebody who had started this whole list of like hints. And I read that whole PDF one day.
Yes.
Really good stuff there, but yeah. All right, so there you go. You go last day near closing to get all the markdown cars. People want to clear stuff out. That's a great idea too. I sometimes do that at the Greenberg show, but I feel like it's hit or miss. Some guys will start to really discount their table, and other guys will just pack up early. I've noticed that too.
When we used to go to the Greenberg shows, we always said there were some times where we ended up going on Sunday rather than Saturday, because with Sunday you would always get better deals.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting. I always just work around my schedule. I never really thought about trying to go Sunday versus Saturday. Huh. Maybe I'll try that next time. If I have any money left after New York, the big Edison show in New Jersey is late November. So maybe that'll be something I head to. What do you want to do? Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, it is kind of weird that they would have better deals on a Sunday rather than a Saturday, because Sunday is mostly, it's always not only considered to be a day to be going to church and stuff like that, but it's also almost the end of the weekend. Like, it's just hard to describe, really. Saturday, you would think that Saturday would be a much better day, that you would get a good deal off of something, but apparently not.
Yeah, no, I agree. Datify, I don't know if you saw his comment come up. That's hysterical. He said, make no mistake, Facebook Marketplace is super sketchy. Completely agree. But yeah, you know what's funny though? He mentions you can get some killer deals from folks who don't know what they have. Agree, but it's funny. I also see the opposite. I see people who have something and it's like, and maybe they're not in the hobby as much as we are, and like they price it at this ridiculous price. And I'm like, what are you thinking? Like, they'll show a post-war engine, like a Pennsylvania 761, $500. Like somebody had, believe it or not, I don't know if it's in the camera here. This is a Lionchief Plus 2.0. I don't remember how old this is. A couple years old, and diesel engine. It's a ES 44 AC or something like that. ET 44 AC. I got it for $400 from Train World, like the year it came out. Somebody had it on, I think it was Facebook. It may have been someplace else, and they had it for like $550. And the first comment in the post was, "I could just go buy the legacy version for less money than this." Like it was like so. While you see people who may have something underpriced, there are definitely people who overprice there too.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm also kind of a little weary about buying something on Facebook myself, and it's also, since we're actually on the topic of this actually kind of reminds me of a video I used to watch from some other guy's channel. I'm not really too sure if he's making videos or not anymore, but he actually did buy a old Marx 490 steam locomotive that was painted silver, and from what he mentioned in the video, the owner that he bought it from mentioned that it was supposed to be like a rare prototype, but right off the bat, he knew that Marx never made any rare prototypes because, you know, just by examining the whole thing, he knew right off the bat that it was a fake. And he went back to the guy who he bought it from, and he said to him, "Do you have like any proof of it?" And lo and behold, the guy didn't really answer. So right from there, sometimes you gotta really, you know, you don't want to like jump into conclusions right away. You really got to like ask like these buyers more questions,
Yeah.
because it feels like you're definitely going to bit off more than you could chew.
Yeah. And you have to ask the right questions too. It's interesting, right? Like you have to be
Yes.
smart about like,
Hmm.
um, like, and I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but I have in the past, like, you have to be really like ask specific questions, like make sure you see a video of it running if you can get one.
Yeah, right. It's sometimes when these people are trying to get more money out of you, sometimes you got to like use reverse psychology off of these, buyers that you're, looking, that you're like collecting from.
Yeah. All right. So, all right, here you go. So somebody was trying to get somebody to try to ship off of Facebook Marketplace, and he wouldn't ship it. He wanted somebody to pick it up, and he offered him over asking price. Yeah. All right, Ed's got to leave early. All right, thanks Ed for joining.
Thanks for stopping by. Ed.
Appreciate it. Why don't we do? You want to do like one more of our questions, and then we can get some trains running.
Sure.
Let's see.
I know you asked me about how often do I clean my track on both my layouts here.
Yeah, let's do that since we talked about maintenance a little bit earlier.
I mean, in all fairness, I'm kind of a little bit on the lazy side when it comes to cleaning my track. I mean, as long as my trains are running without having any problems, then I'm fine with it. But usually, when it comes to cleaning the rails and such, I tend to clean. I tend to clean them maybe like once every 2 months. To be fair, because with the newer stuff, you don't really have that much of a problem with it. It's mostly the post-war equipment that you got to worry about. Because not only do you have to clean the track, you also got to clean the armatures, you got to clean the bearings, you also got to work on the rollers underneath, and you also got to grease the gears. I mean, the post-war locomotives are a lot more maintainable than newer stuff.
Yeah.
But with the newer stuff, make no mistake, you still got to you know, uh, you still got to work on it once in a while. You just can't leave it alone forever. Leave it alone forever.
Yeah, agree. But at least then it's more like you're right. It's just oil the axles a little bit, make sure things are, running smoothly. It's not as much maintenance. Um, I try to get to my track about once a month. I probably am more on the once every other month like you. Um, it's what do you have? Do you have a car that you use, or do you just run your hand over it and clean it?
I actually used a couple of different materials. I either use a wet cloth with this material that I use over here. It's called Goo Gone. You can
Yep,
either get this Home
yep, that's what
Depot
I use.
or other. You can get it at any other home supply store. It just tries to get the job done.
Yeah, no, I use the Goo Gone, and I bought a big package of microfiber cloths at Costco, and I use that for every place I can reach. And what I do is while I'm running around wiping all that off, I also have a track cleaning car from I want to call it, I think it's Northeast Trains. It's just a silver block of metal. It's got the place to put the two pads underneath. You wet one with Goo Gone, you leave the other one dry. And I run that with one of my post-war F3 units that's got magnet traction because it does make the track wet. So I run it with the magnet traction so the train won't slip. And so I usually do that to get where I can't reach, as well as just kind of double up on what I am cleaning. But yeah, it's funny because I put it off thinking it's going to take forever. But when I do it, it really only takes like 20 minutes to clean my entire layout. Not that I have that big of a layout, but it's like I have 4 tracks without the yard. And like I said, it takes about 20 minutes. Like I just move all the trains onto one track, clean one track, move the train to the other track, and do it again and over again. So but what's interesting with the newer engines, what I find is the traction tires tend to leave like a rubber residue in some of the turns. Like you'll see after a long straightaway, that first piece of turn track always has like a big buildup on it. And that's where I'll run into some problems there. So cool.
Sometimes it's also a little difficult for me when it comes to the center of both of the two tables here because I got a whole lot of buildings and such going on over here. I have to move around the table. I'll end up cleaning from this side, and if I can't get into the center, I'll just end up going around this side of both the tables and clean it from the other end there. So unfortunately, I mean, I don't really have a pop-up hole in the center of my layout here, so I just kind of have to play it by ear and wing it, as best as I can.
Mm. Yeah, my kids, my one of my sons mentioned he loves your little row of houses that you have there.
Nice.
He's a big fan of those. I'm like, I know. I'm like, I have no room for more things on here. So if you want to pick up a new house, we got to take something off. That's the way I look at it.
Well,
So.
I'm really glad that I helped, inspired somebody in the family there.
Yeah, cool. All right, what do you got on your layout today? What are you gonna run?
Okay, so since we're almost in the fall season, I figured I'd take out a couple of engines that kind of remind me of a fall, you know, that kind of remind me of the season of fall, to say the least. So what I have here on the main table is my conventional Lionel Santa Fe GP38 diesel locomotive with a DC can motor, and right behind it I have a long line of rolling stock from both MTH and Lionel. And then in the center loop here, I have my post-war 623 Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe NW2 switcher with some post-war rolling stock. I also have the fire car on the bridge in the back over there once again. And then finally on the second loop in the back over here, let me just see if I can move my camera real quick. I do have my Proto Sounds 2 BNSF diesel locomotive heading a short line of Santa Fe double door boxcars here.
Nice. Nice. Cool. All right. Let me just put this down. We had another person had to take off, so Robert had to drop off. So just kind of. So on mine, I got on my upper loop, I have a two engine set up as train. I have a New York Central Line Master. I think this is the SD90. I'm going to be wrong on that, I'm sure. And then I have this was the ET44 AC I talked about before. It's a Lionchief Plus 2.0. In the middle on some tube track, I'm always running my father's New Haven EP5 there. And it's got just a bunch of stuff, including a post-war milk car that was his. Way down there, I have my Blue Comets on my other inner track. And then on the outer loop, I have the pacemaker with some passenger cars set up. And then I have way down the end, boxcar set up because I figure I'll pull the big boy out and try to run two trains on the outer loop at once. Fingers crossed I can get them to keep running without crashing into each other. So,
Nice.
cool. All right, I'm gonna get some stuff rolling and move the camera down a little bit. And I gotta make it a little higher too.
As am I. Now, for some of you guys who still want to ask us a couple of questions, don't be afraid to do so. I'm just going to go ahead and jump on over to the comments section in the meantime while we're running the trains. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and start everything up and hope you guys enjoy the running session here.
might ask the question when we were hitting running. Ever done a live running session before? Yeah, but I would say this. That's practice. And you can set up a live stream on YouTube that's just for public, it's just yours, and you can run everything in practice doing it then, and then get going and then do the next one you like. The other thing I would say is even now, like I came down here a half hour before we were going to go on and tested everything. Ran all the trains, made sure everybody had some fluid, make sure that all the batteries were charged, all that kind of stuff. Just because I have in the past had off the tracks because it wasn't working. Let me know if you get interest. Together.
So if you guys ever see a brand new operating car on the layout here that I haven't really touched upon that much on my channel, I will do that at some point.
That's probably 45 seconds. If you go to you will see my email address in there. Shoot me an email. I can send you a couple of things I did when I was first figuring that out to do a live stream. Not that good. I also tried to just stop some of my louder engines and turn down the volume on some of those other guys. So if you guys have questions, shoot them into the comments. Let us know. Identified. I don't know if you heard what I was saying before, but you look at my YouTube channel profile. My email's there. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. It's not as scary as it sounds to do a live stream. gonna move you guys down the other side now. Yeah, so that was actually if my messenger Instagram also looks like the way it does, and that's how my guitar off. So you guys can also hit me up on Instant Messenger on Instagram Messenger. Facebook Messenger, call it. I'm on there. Don't follow trains on Instagram. Um,
So Dadified, I'm not really too sure if you're still watching or not, but I'm going to take out a set of my Union Pacific Outposts, especially for you guys. So if you ever see any yellow anniversary sets on the layout tonight, then those are for you tonight.
Oh, yeah. Jack Man was saying you can see the on-rail sitting on the shelf back here. Bring this down so we can get a closer look at it. So this is an MPC era Conrail rectifier that was my father's. This is the last engine he bought. So he had 4 total engines. The EP, New Haven EP5, he had the Santa Fe F3, and on the lower level on my train table, there's a old steam engine, a 2026. But this was the 4th one he bought, this conventional Conrail. And I run this. This is a great runner. And just like post-board, these NBC trains just run. And I have to say, Jack Man was talking about, oh, I have a crash here. Hold on.
I also do have a Conrail diesel locomotive in my collection too, in case you guys want to see that one tonight as well. So guys, let me know in the comment section below. Do you guys want to see that Conrail, or do you want to see me pull out that Conrail tonight? Or are you guys really satisfied with what we have on the layout here so far?
I had to lose a couple of passenger cars. These Railking passenger cars are great, but they weigh a ton and they pull the couplers open all the time. Yeah, between that MPC Air Conrail and my Blue Comet set, you can't go wrong with that Air. Great trains then. I also have Switcher over there too. I think is MPC Air. It's fantastic with DT and I. Yeah, Legend Driver's talking about his MPC Air Blue Comet. I'm assuming that's an MPC Air Blue Comet. It's a fantastic set. I have, I think, the engine and 7 cars because the guy I bought it from had an extra car. And it's just a great runner. And I thought about trying to get like a legacy version of the set, and I'm like, why bother? The MPC Air is just so fantastic. Every time I pull it out, it just looks so good running around the layout. Yeah. So Jackman mentions the standard gauge version of the Blue Comet. Did you see? I think Train World has I think it's standard gauge set that was used in the Sopranos episode that was filmed at their store. They have it up for sale now. I think it's actually the set from the episode, the filming. That's pretty cool. Yeah, exactly. Legend Driver, lots of money for that set, I'm sure. Sorry to Datified. I don't know if you could hear us. Is asking a question about smoke units in secondhand engines. I haven't had a problem with smoke units in my secondhand engine. This New York Central SD90 or 70, whatever it is secondhand. My Challenger is secondhand. That's okay. Even the big boy, which is secondhand, it is okay. But honestly, I've replaced smoke units in a couple of different engines over time, and it's I know you've done a bunch of other stuff. It's not a big deal. Even rebuilding them is pretty easy. So I just think these things tend to burn out. A lot of people don't realize to turn them off when they don't have fluid in there. Actually, the one hint I will say is if you are doing a live stream, I forgot to do it tonight. Turning off smoke units is a great way to make a live stream a lot easier for two reasons. One, you have to keep remembering to fill engines with smoke fluid as they're running around the layout. Two, the smoke units draw a lot of power and add a lot of heat. So if you're running your trains for a long time, you're probably better off with the smoke units off because it keeps the engine a little cooler.
So I did kind of fail to mention to everybody who's watching from home tonight, but I know the last time me and Art did a live stream like this, we were having like some technical issues with the audio. But I think for tonight's live stream, we've been having, much more luck this time around. You guys can still hear me, right?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Cool. But as for everybody else out there,
Identified. I learned that the hard way. One of the first times I did a live stream, I had a train running the entire live stream, even while we were talking. So for a solid hour and a half, it was this Union Pacific ET44 AC running with the smoke unit on. And by the end, the train, when I went and felt it, it was scorching. No, obviously not melting the plastic hot, but it was hot, and I kept having to add smoke fluid throughout the entire live stream. And I realized, hey, next time just turn it off. So makes it a lot easier.
I remember when I was probably maybe like 9, 10 years old, I was running my dad's Lionel Post-Sport 2035 Pennsylvania K4, and I tested the smoke unit in it, and it felt like the thing was on fire.
Yeah, it's amazing how hot those things make the engine.
That's how bad the smoke unit was. So, Art, I think as far as the live streams go, I think I'm going to have to let you take the lead from now on, man.
Sorry, you cut out there. What was it? As far as the live stream go, what?
I was saying, since we're having a really great time with the live stream tonight, I think the more often that we do this, I'm thinking I'm gonna let you take the lead from now on.
All right. Yeah. Well, maybe what we'll do is set one up. I don't know what my schedule looks like next week, but let's talk. Maybe we'll set one up on my channel in a week or two.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Let's go for another couple minutes running, and then we'll shut it down, I guess.
Okay.
So if you guys have any more questions, throw them in the comments.
How much longer do you want to be on for? Like 15 minutes?
Maybe another 5 or 10.
Okay. I'm gonna pull out another one of my engines in the meantime, and then we'll wrap up everything from there. Towards
Sounds like a good idea. Yeah, Jackman's saying he leaves his diesel smoke units off. And if it's smoking, it's broken. I love it. That's fantastic. Yeah. No, and I just do it honestly just for the fun of it. I just really enjoy the smoke billowing out of these. But I agree, not always prototypical. But then again, my layout, sitting on a piece of plywood painted green, isn't prototypical.
I always
I
like
just, I run it the way I like it, kind of thing.
to keep my smoke units on.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really care that much if it gets really fogged up in here. It's almost to me, it's almost like being in a Jamaican music store, if you know what I'm saying.
Yep. Yep. There you go. Legend Driver says he loves running the smoke units. Yeah. My wife's always like, "Is that bad for you?" I'm like, "No, don't worry about it. It's not bad for you. Makes the basement smell great. Better than the smell the kids leave it in."
So let us know in the comment section below, what is your guys' favorite scent of smoke fluid?
So what did you go pull out? I'm not watching.
I mean, considering we have at least maybe like 10 minutes left, I'm gonna take out my Lionchief Plus Berkshire here.
All right. The other hint I would give you, Datified, is if you're doing a live stream, either turn the volume on your engines all the way down or lower them a lot, just because, everything running and stuff, it makes a heck of a racket while you're trying to talk over the microphone. That's what you were talking about before, being hard to hear us. There you go. The smoking GE locomotive would be prototypical. There you go. All right, so there's a great one, Del. Blueberry Thrill. I've never heard of that one. So I run either the Lionel or the JT Megastine. The pine scent usually is what I'm running. Just because I got used to it, and what I decided was that rather than run through one bottle and switch scents, I try to just stay consistent with which scent I have. But maybe this year when I head to York, I'll pick up a bunch of different ones. Try some different stuff out.
I'll probably end up doing the same thing here too.
Let's see if I can move you guys down a little bit to a different spot.
Blueberry filled smoke fluid. Never even heard of that one.
Vanilla and pumpkin. Yeah, that's good. Pumpkin pie. Oh, yeah. I prefer the cola one, so I have not tried that. That sounds. I bet my wife. Yeah, I tried it. Home with like $100 in smoke for it, but you order all different scents. And I think if I remember correctly, JT Megastine sells a like I'm thinking that you put it between different scents so that the two scents don't combine. So you run it like one scent and use it, one and use a different scent. I know what smoke fluid scent they need to come up with. They need to come up with a one that smells like the the engine or the fuel at a NASCAR race. I don't know if any of you guys are into NASCAR, but my kids and I are. And when you go to a race, it's got such a unique smell. It's fantastic. That's what they need to have. Yeah, all right. Pocono and Talladega. Yeah, Pocono is where my sons and I usually go. We haven't been in a couple of years, so maybe next summer we'll get out there. Talladega, Daytona, um, and Bristol. Those are on my list. I got to go see races there. Not the Bristol dirt race, the Bristol night race. That's actually this weekend. I want to go to one of those one year. I don't know if you could see. I turned the camera a little bit. One of my sons, when we built the extension on the table here a couple of years ago, requested that we build a racetrack into the table. I'm gonna get the camera turned with one hand. So we actually have. It is not in any way close to scale, but we actually have a little racetrack here, and we got some. What are those sprint cars? I guess running on there right now. That's one of my projects I need to come up with. Is I have to build a flag stand for that racetrack.
We also do have a little racetrack down here in Delaware. We can drive go-karts.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I've seen you have different things. The Thomas train, Datified's talking about bringing things together. Yeah, so like, there's a couple of Lego pieces on my table that the kids put in there. I try to let them add their own little pieces in because it keeps them interested in it. And they each have their own HO layout, but I feel like whatever they can bring to give input into the bigger layout makes them more interested in it. And they each have a couple of cars that they've each requested and gotten for Christmas, or I've bought for them over the years, things like that too on my O scale. And then they have their each have their HO. My older son, I call him my purchase advisor. He's the one that tells me whether or not I'm spending too much on trains.
Sounds more like a corrections officer to me.
What's that?
Sounds a little bit more like correction officers to me.
Yeah. Yeah, shut down that blue comet because that thing was loud. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, datafy. That's exactly right. Right. Get them involved. Let them reflect what they want to in the layout, and have fun with it. And that's the way I feel like, That's why I know my layout's not prototypical, not very big, but I have fun with it. Keeps me busy. Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say that guy got stuck back there.
That thing is always getting me troubles up on that bridge there. I'm not really too
I
sure
think you
why.
need to
But
add. I think you need to add a little bit of maybe another bridge section on either side that hangs over. Put a piece of like thin plywood under it or something, so it goes a little bit longer. Because maybe it just can't build up enough speed to hit the bumper.
maybe. Although I was kind of thinking about adding another like walk on to the other end of the line of the other end of the bumper there, so that way the electricity just keeps flowing through the track no matter what. So that way I can end up having the same speed from the track to the transformer. So that way I don't lose speed on the motorized unit, whether it's the kit
Yeah,
car or the fire car.
yeah. All right. What do you say? You want to wrap it up a little bit?
Yeah, let me go ahead and mark everything on the layout here, so that way we can wrap it up from there.
This is the operator. Please hold at your location. Roger. Goodbye.
Let me just go ahead and adjust my camera real quick. Hang on to your seatbelts there, because you guys are going to go for a little ride here.
I know. I was doing the same thing. I'm walking down, kicking the camera stand as I was walking down the other end of the layout.
Okay. Let me set you guys down here just for a moment.
Thanks, Dale. Appreciate it. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like I've been, and you'll see if you guys watch the video I did on it. Yeah, I've been eyeing this up, and when I extended the table last winter, I think it was to 048 curve. I intentionally put a switch track in, thinking ahead about this yard, um, and it really came out just like I wanted it to. It didn't take up any more of the basement from the kids. I was able to put it over the existing shelving back here. But it like I talked about in the video, the thing I really like about it is now I keep a bunch of engines on the table. And when I want to switch something out, even if it's to one of the other tracks, not all my tracks are connected, I can quickly roll an engine out, just pick it up and move it to the other track. As opposed to, I used to keep everything on the wall down there. And anytime I wanted to switch something, it was carefully carry something into the corner and get it carefully on the shelves and bring something out. And it became much more of a hassle. I was switching things out less. So now I switch engines out almost, every day. I'm switching and running something different. So it's a lot of fun.
And like they
Plus,
always say,
I don't know if you have like personally, I had never thought like I'd be into like switching operations. And it is actually kind of fun to like run everything and like pull things in and out and like switch stuff around and everything. And I leave all the engines there and I'll pull engines out onto the track and shift them around and stuff.
right.
Never thought I'd
Yeah.
be into that, but it's kind of fun.
I mean, there is like a little bit of a myth floating out there. Well, I shouldn't say floating out there, but a lot of people kind of mention about. But sometimes when you're just running the trains around the layout for a couple of times, it just gets very boring. So it's really the switching that kind of help keeps your mind not only clear but focused on other things that's going on besides running the trains. You want to switch out cars, you want to bring out new engines and such. You can definitely do that with switching operation.
Yeah, no, I agree. Although I have to say, like, I am not one of those people. Like, I'll keep the same thing on my layout, and I'll come down here every night and run trains for a half hour, 45 minutes, and I don't get bored. Just sit there on the stool and stare at it, watch it. I move around. I'll sit down here. I'll sit down the other end. Stand in a corner and just watch it from all different angles.
Very true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that being said, I really hope everybody has enjoyed watching us tonight. Once again, I just wanted to thank Art over here from Art's Model Trains for joining me once again for this
Thank
Thursday.
you.
And hopefully we're definitely hoping to have more of these live streams more often, but we'll see how this one goes. So
Yeah. Thanks,
that's
guys. Be sure to like and subscribe to everybody's channel. And I'm going to look back through the comments, make sure I'm on everybody else's channel here. I know a few of you posted. So, but thanks for joining in. Really appreciate it.
what he said. Also, before we go, I do want to mention that I'm also going to be doing another team up live stream next week, and I'm actually going to be joined by Mike from his channel Datafied, and I also do have the Union Pacific Outpost to prove it because I know he and his son are really big Union Pacific fanatics.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
So until then, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to both of our channels here. And don't forget to hit the notification bell down below for any other project that we both upload, or that we both upload. Yes, that's what I meant. And make sure also to go check out Art's channel because I think he's probably, would you say you're like close to like 900 subscribers so far?
Yeah, I'm like 8. I haven't looked recently, but I want to say somewhere around like 850 or so. Trying to get to 1,000. That's my goal. Get to 1,000 by the end of the year. So
Nice. Well, we'll be definitely rooting for you until then.
thanks, guys. Have a great night, guys.
All right. See you guys next week.